Okay, welcome to episode 2 of Living Hopeful-ish with Scarlet Hiltibidal. It's very cold here in Nashville. It's supposed to get into the negatives next week, so I'm just bundling in preparation right now. I thought I would share something I wrote in Home Life. I wrote this article called Ocean-Sized Anxiety when we had just moved out to California. And we were kind of figuring the area out. I took the girls to a park and it had sand in it because it was kind of close to the beach. And Dewey was like, hey, can I take my shoes off? And I was like starting to say yes. And then a dad walked by and he's like, I wouldn't let your daughter take her shoes off because we found needles, used needles at this park. So I'm like, oh, don't take your shoes off. And then we called it Needle Park, affectionately. The girls would be like, can we go to Needle Park? And that's what we did. So when I wrote this article, I just went on to describe an observation I made about my 3 daughters and their interaction with the ocean and the beach. First, I talked about our middle daughter, Joy. She's an indoorsman. She's cautious and artistic. She's in an art class. She's super good with her hands. She's into origami right now. So I remember taking her to the beach, and for a lot of those beach visits, my 2 other ones would be playing, and then Joy would be kind of sitting by my side on the towel, trying not to get dirty. And then somehow when we would walk from the ocean of Huntington Beach down the long stretch of sand, by the time we got to the car, Joy had not a single, what do you call it? Grain. Not a single grain of sand on her body somehow. And then I have my oldest daughter, Ever, and she's very achievement driven, and she likes to make things, and she was always immediately constructing a sand castle and finding the seashells and stones to perfectly adorn it. And it was just every time she had every time we would go, she would have a project. And then there's my youngest, Dewey, and every time we would go to the beach, she would run up to the waves, let them splash her feet, and just stare at the waves. What Dewey does at the ocean, she just stands there for hours. And she would here and there kind of, help her big sister with the sand castle or come check on Joy, but she was just kind of enthralled. So the different ways my daughters interacted just reminded me of, it was like this picture of the Christian life. So, we can be like the indoorsy one. We can just kind of hide. We can kind of stay seated on the towel, try not to get dirty in fear of what it might look like if we should go all in. And, as a parent in that moment, I wanted my indoorsman to experience the fun of the beach. I think of John 10:10, I've come so they may have life and have it in abundance. I wanted her to experience abundance, right? But then my builder, again, this is just beach, but in our Christian lives, I was reminded of Psalm 127:2. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. And I just thought about how easy it is to engage as a Christian in the world like a go-getter. I'm gonna do and I'm gonna achieve so that I can get it done. Whereas, my little youngest wasn't trying to make some spiritual statement, but she was just enjoying everything the beach had to offer. On one of these beach stops that we made early on, I remember that Dewey accidentally hurt Joy's finger. Don't remember how it happened, but she felt really bad about it. So it was so sweet and cute to me that Dewey, who normally would just stand at the waves and stare, had a different plan that day, and she started collecting shells and giving them to Joy to try to make her feel better. Little Dewey doesn't know much about the world yet. Her faith hasn't matured or been tested by the hard knocks of life, but when we tell her God made the ocean, she believes it, and she marvels at it, and it leads her to love others. It leads her to share her seashells. It leads her to use her hands and feet to comfort and love. I didn't make her behave like that, and I certainly don't always model it, but her little act of love and faith strengthened mine so deeply. We don't have to be anxious about crime rates and cancers and cross-country moves. We're loved by the God of unlimited grace, unlimited mercy, and unlimited shells. We can look out at the world and love it with hearts that are at peace and with buckets overflowing with community shells, as my girls call them, because we're so loved, so blessed. We get to be givers of hope, carriers of love, children of God. 1 John 3:1a says, see what great love the Father has given us that we should be called God's children, and we are. That's it.